So sorry. I needed to get ready and then my system restarted. But here we are. I'm just doing the introduction for today because it's Lady Joy, our own Lady Joy that will be helping us today. And the concept is this. I'll tell you the reason behind it. A lot of us have just relocated to the United Kingdom. A lot of us are looking for jobs. And I asked her, look, I speak with people, I realize that they haven't managed to understand what it is about interviews in the UK. And now, this lady that I have here has taught me a lot of things myself. Not only that, she's giving me tips that has helped me in my job search. She's helped a lot of people in Global Harvest Church, but not only that, she's a top HR professional. Look, I will encourage you to listen to her over and over again. Take notes, apply what she's going to teach you, what she's going to teach us. Because look, 2024 is going to be a great year for us. We are going to learn a lot from her and we'll apply it. So, without much ado, help me to welcome the beautiful Lady Joy as she helps us today. Lady Joy, over to you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Bayo. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for joining. I think Pastor Bayo has kind of done justice to the intro. I have been in a HR professional for about 15 years now, 15 plus years, actually. I've worked within global organizations. I've led large teams, and I've sat on a lot of interview panels, both as a panel member, but also as a candidate. And so what I'm going to be doing today is speaking from a place of thorough experience on both sides of the table. And whether we like it or not, I know there is a lot of talk around what do you bring to the table? And the truth is, it's not just in relationships, it's also with the relationship of work, because an organization is a living organism. So whether you like it or not, you're having a relationship with them. And so every organization is asking the question that people in relationships are asking, which is, what do you bring to the table? And you would do yourself severe injustice if you are not clear about what you bring to that table, because whether we like it or not, you only sometimes have just a few minutes, at best maximum 2 hours, depending on the stages of interview, to really nail what you are bringing to the table. So I'm going to be talking a lot from experience. I have deliberately not put up any slides because I thought I didn't want people to be looking at the slides. I want people to be able to take notes. I want people to reflect. And more importantly, I want people to be able to ask questions, okay? For how, some of the maybe practical things. I'm hoping that we have some time towards the end. Pastor Bay, I'm not sure how much time we have. I'm assuming an hour, maybe an hour and a half.
Lady Joy, it's about the people. Once you deliver the message, whatever question, once you get tired, I will chase them out of this place.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Great. So we've got 22 of us here. I know that you've probably got some friends that would benefit from this. So if you could do them great service and just, send a quick WhatsApp message and say, hey, could you join us? There's going to be this amazing session going on here. That would be fantastic. And also just a bit of housekeeping. Sometimes I know people mistakenly touch on the unmute button and, we kind of hear things going on in your background. I think it would be good to sort of respect other people and ensure that that's on mute. And if you do have any questions, you can either use the chat, use the reactions to kind of raise your hand up, or you would also have an opportunity in the end to ask questions. But I would say put out all distractions and let us go through this. Now, let us just start quickly by some high-level information that I wanted to share about the reality of the job market. So I will just share some information that I got from a website called Zippia. So it's spelled Zippia. And it talks about job seeker statistics. And so this is just a summary. So they believe from research that it takes 21 to 80 job applications to get one job offer on average, right? About 21 to 80. So just imagine, you going through up to 80, sometimes more applications just to get one job offer, right? Now, the average corporate job opening roughly receives 250 applications. And actually, you can validate that very easily by going on LinkedIn. If you click on any job, LinkedIn is They're very open enough to show you how many people have applied. And that's just LinkedIn. Remember that organizations have multiple other websites that they apply, that they advertise jobs on. So you can imagine, if you can, there are some roles that I was looking at recently, there was 450 applicants, and you're just thinking that alone is enough to just make you feel discouraged and just, move your CV somewhere else. 61.7% of job seekers get at least one interview by sending between 1 to 10 job applications, right? So you have a, 60% thereabout chance for every 10 applications that you make, okay? And then 51% of job seekers receive a job offer after having 3 job interviews. Now, that information, you might wonder why, but I think it's important just to see the reality of the job market, that it is a very, very tough one out there, because organizations are constantly on a search for people that are able to help them deliver their business strategy. And they would not stop until they get who they believe is the best candidate, for them. So let's quickly talk about why it's important, what job interviews are for, right? Before I go into the other parts, what job interviews are for. I think for me is ultimately, if I ask people, why do we go for job interviews? Let's use the chat. Can people just type in the chat and just let me know? Why do you think we go for job interviews? I mean, there is the obvious one, which is, to get a job, but what else? What else do you think? I want a bit of engagement here using the chat function. Why do we think people, why do we think people, what's the purpose of interviews? Quick chat. Is everyone scared? Don't worry, this is not an interview. Okay, so fantastic. So lots of feedback there. It says sometimes it's to understand the culture of the organization. Fantastic. To know how marketable you are, aside getting the job, of course. To validate candidates, absolutely. To get an overview of the organization and vice versa, yes. Identify those fit for the role, to see if you're the right for job. Yeah, company, fantastic. All of that are spot on. Okay, let me summarize all of the things that we've just said, and that's exactly what's in my note. Okay, so first of all, I think there's 3 main things. Now, we know ultimately it's to hopefully secure a job in an organization that is as fit for you as you are as fit for them. Okay, so always remember it's both ways. It's not a one-way street. Now, it's for selection. And whether you like it or not, organizations are selecting in or selecting out, and it's happening at the same time. You're trying to select in for the role and select out of the role, so the people that you don't want. So it's for selection. But something else is that it's for networking, and some people have insinuated that in some of the chat. It's for networking, and I'm going to share, you would see the reason why it's important that you do such a fantastic job in applying for roles, for, if not for necessarily for getting the job, for networking purposes. And another one that people have, I'm not sure if you're written it here, is really to build your confidence level. Because at the end of the day, you need to have the confidence to be able to face organizations, to be able to sell the value that you bring. Remember, I talked about what you bring to the table, and ultimately be able to secure that role that you're looking for. Okay, so that's that. And why did I say it's a form of networking? A lot of times people don't know this. I'll tell you a quick story. About 10 years ago, I applied. Actually, I think it's much longer than that. I had applied for a role with Roehampton University. I was working at my first HR role at the time. I think this must be about 15 years thereabout. I'd applied for a role, and the role was going to be leading teams. Now, I had just finished my master's. I'd got my first role with London Borough of Lambeth, working within the shared service center. And I'd seen this role that was HR manager, to be managing a team of 3 people. I had 0 experience managing people, but I had the audacity to apply for that role. And I researched. I had been learning by, I guess, by just seeing how the team within the organization I was working at the time, how people were managing people. I had read a lot around management, and so I applied for this role. And I didn't get the job. Now, remember, my focus was not necessarily to get the job. I wanted to network. I wanted to put myself out there. And I just wanted to test the waters and say, hey, I'm sure I can lead people and I should be able to convince a panel of hiring managers that I was the best person for the job, even though I didn't have experience at the time. So anyway, I had applied for this role and I didn't get it. Um, and so I moved on and I kept doing other things. I'm focusing on my role. Within 6 months, I got a call from that organization say, hey, you had applied for a role about 6 months ago. The position has now become vacant, but you were our top two candidates. And we gave it to the other person. And we don't want to go through the interview process. We just wanted to ask if you were still available to take on the role. Long story short, that was my first entry into leadership role within HR, and I had never looked back. I'd never taken any role that doesn't involve me managing people. Why is that story important? Because sometimes when you're applying for roles, it's not so much the desperation and the 100% focus that I want to nail this job. Sometimes it's because you just want to expose yourself. And remember the title, the theme of this meeting is to be that unforgettable person that even 6 months later on, they would still say, I actually want this person. And the organization didn't go through any formal process. I was literally handed this job at the time because I had done such an amazing job at the interview. Okay, so that's why that networking part is so important. So sometimes it's not necessarily getting the job, is I want to make sure there's something I always say, and I want people to take this out of this meeting. I would make the interview process so tough for the hiring manager that if they are not taking me, oh, they would struggle so much with the person that they have chosen. And that's such an audacious statement to make, but trust me, that can be you as well. That I'm going for this interview, I'll make it such a tough job. The hiring manager would delay making the decision because, oh my gosh, this girl she just made it so hard. Just when we thought we had the right person, suddenly she came with another game changer and is like, damn, what are we going to do? And that is so important because I've seen that happen over and over and over and over again. And for people who have been on interview panels, I'm sure including Pastor Bayo, you would have seen this play out where it's like, we just thought we had the person. And in fact, we're just chilling and going through the process. Someone else comes and they make it so difficult. And they then have to go back to the drawing board, reviewing what they want because this person has suddenly made them realize, wow, we may have to make a different decision. And so it's so important for networking. You remember they are trying to, understand you as much as you're trying to understand them as well. And all of the things that we've also talked about. But ultimately, it's also for you to hopefully secure a role in an organization that you want as much as they want you. Okay, so all of that is very, very important. Now, let's go into what makes you an unforgettable candidate. I have a lot of stories. I would read the room to be able to determine whether I should share all of them, but I will share different stories with you as we go along. And I will start by sharing this one. I used to work with one of my friends who had a kind of a career organization, and she used to deliver master classes. And so every year when she ran a conference, um, I would volunteer to review people's CVs because I quite enjoyed doing things like that. There was this particular event, I think it was about 3-4 years ago. And so I was sitting down in a room and somebody would usher each person and they'll bring their CV and they would then, be ushered to sit in front of me. I was on the other side of the table and they would then just talk to me about maybe some of the challenges they were facing. It was almost like a sort of mentor coach type of event, but also I would go through very quickly their CVs and then, give them a few tips on how to improve it. I would never forget this candidate who had worked. As she was walking towards me, I think she probably was about a feet there, about really close to me. She then said, oh, Joy, I'm so, so sorry. I'm a very shy person. And I said, I noticed that from afar. Immediately I saw you walking. I knew you were shy. In fact, you're very, very timid. And she busted out laughing. And I said, do you know what you've just done? You have just empowered me as a hiring manager not to hire you. I didn't know that you were a shy person. If you didn't, there was nothing on your clothes. There was nothing in the way in your persona. There was nothing in the way you walked here that exposed to me that you were shy. So why did you feel the need to tell me that you're a shy person? Right? I never forgot that story. This is about 3 years ago. And I used that as an opportunity to really coach her that you never share your weaknesses, your fears, and all of that to a hiring manager, because we know that in any negotiation, everybody is trying to gain the upper hand. So of course, they would use the one that is a seeming weakness that you have shared against you. Because remember, fundamentally, for people to select in for a role, they are picking strengths and weaknesses. They are comparing. When it gets down to it, they are saying, this person talks very, very well, the other person doesn't. So there's already a lot of weaknesses that you're being compared against. Why do you feel the need to share something that nobody sees? So my first rule to be that unforgettable candidate is never share your weakness. Now, there is a caveat to that. Sometimes they'll say, oh, tell me about your weakness. And there are smart ways for you to communicate your weakness. And I'm going to share mine as an example. If anybody is willing to do a role play, I'll be more than happy to ask that question. And then somebody can come off camera, come off the audio mode, and then share. Let me share with you how I share my weakness. I am a very exceptional strategist when it comes to HR. An organization just needs to tell me where they're looking to go to, and I would come up with the strategies to do that. But I get very bored easily. So I like to move from projects to project because new things, innovation, and all of those sorts of things interest me. Now, if I share that in that way to an organization, I'm going to be in trouble. So this is what I say when they say, what is your weakness? I say, actually, I'm a very, very strong innovator. I see opportunities to make things simple, make things easy, make things interesting, to ultimately give people within an organization an exceptional experience. I would say the challenge, or what you potentially are calling your weakness in that, is that I would always be looking for new things to do. And there is a potential that I get overwhelmed with a lot of projects going on in the, under the umbrella of innovation or improvement. I say, but what I have learned to do over time is that I've become very exceptional at executing, but more importantly, building a great team of executors around me. That is how I sell that weakness. Trust me, it's a lot more fancier, it's a lot more, it's much more challenging than what I'm sharing. But that is what I've been able to do. And every single team that I have worked in, when I'm leaving that team, every team member says to me, Joy, I like the way you enabled us to lead projects. That's the truth, because I know that I would not be able to do it, but I need to get a team of people together. So what is supposed to be a weakness then suddenly becomes a strength that the organization would say, oh, wow, I think we like that because she has fixed it. So the only time you're permitted to share a weakness within our organization is you present it in a way that is actually a strength. So you guise it, you dress it up as a strength. But it's not about, trying to pretend. It's actually you understanding that this is your strength, but you have to play, or this is a weakness rather, but you're playing to a strength, which is, if I know that I won't be able to do this thing, I will get somebody that's going to enable me to do that. And if there are people that are looking for leadership roles on this call, that's one of the things that organizations expect from leaders. Your ability to be able to build a team of great executors, because as a leader, most times you are focusing on the strategic bits. And so it will be difficult for you to do both the strategy and the execution piece. So you must build a great team of people around you that run with that vision. That is so, so, so important. I can see that we've got something in the chat. So let's check. Yes. Exactly. Never sell your weakness. Sell your weakness as a strength that will add value to the organization. That is so important. You never walk in. The second rule, I would say, is never start an interview with a negative answer. I'm going to give you an example. And in fact, this one happened about 4 months ago. I was interviewing for a role for a team, and I was supporting a manager. And one of the first questions that one of the candidates was asked was, can you tell me your experience of employment law and all of that? And this is what the candidate answered. Oh, I don't have that experience. I've never done it before. And then they went on to talk about what they had done. And I wondered, because what they had done was sufficient enough to provide credible answer to the question of, tell us your experience about employment law. But because they had presented the negative psychologically as an interview, as a hiring manager, all I'm seeing is negativity. And they repeated that over and over again, trust me, as a potential coach, I was almost going to stop the interview to say, can you stop telling us about what you cannot do? So you never start with negative. Don't say, I have not, I don't, oh, I can't. You don't say that. Rather, always pitch your answers positively. Tell us a time when you've done it, even if you've never done it. Oh, that's really interesting. I have a similar experience here. I've done something similar before. I have done it. I have read about it. I have considerable understanding of it. I believe I have the confidence. That is how you start it, even when you do not have the experience directly that you're asking, okay? You should always have something that mirrors that and you can present it in a positive manner. Because what happens is that psychologically, when you talk to a hiring manager and you start with a negative, that sticks with them. They already have a bias to say this person is probably, she's just clueless. Whatever you say from that point on, it's never going to be something that they will take serious. So you never start with, oh, I don't have the experience before, and all of that. You start with the positive, okay? Now, there is something that I have found, and I'm not sure about how diverse the people on this call are. So I'm going to assume that the most people on this call are either Black ethnic minority and all of that. But if there are any other sort of people, on the call, that's perfectly fine. This is very important. And I've seen this happen over and over again. And trust me, it's not good. Every time candidates are asked a question, they will say, thank you very much for that question. Thank you very much for that question. Just imagine going through 10 questions and you say, tell me about your time X. Oh, thank you very much for that question. There is nothing professional, nice, cool about thanking the hiring manager for that question. First and foremost, it sounds like you're being interviewed as a celebrity. I don't know, but it sounds off. And I have noticed a lot of people potentially who don't have experience in the UK would always say that. And every time I've come out from that interview, they say, why were they thanking us for the question? And you do that all of the time. So you never say thank you. There are 2 times you say thank you. At the beginning of your interview, thank you so much for having me. I thoroughly appreciate the privilege of being shortlisted for such an amazing, or for what sounds like an amazing job. And towards the end of the interview, where you're finished asking your questions and you can say, thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with you. Okay, nowhere in between. There are sometimes that some things may come up and you may say, but please, I've noticed this, and I'll be very honest, particularly with Nigerians, very, very interesting, very intelligent, very amazing people that even have PhD. You can't be thanking the interviewer for every single time they ask you a question. It puts a different type of twist to the interview process, and it doesn't make you sound as amazing as you should be sounding. Yeah. So Deji says it makes it sound like you're buying time to think. Absolutely. Honestly, it's just awkward. Well, thank you very much for that question. Pointless. Let's stop doing that. Okay. So that's that one. Now, there's something that I want to say. Your interview starts with your CV. So you must get that right. 100%. There is no less or more. Your CV has to be top notch. So if you've been in, because a lot of times the interviewer is going to be asking a lot of questions from the CV. So you better make sure that you have that right. And what we're going to do is going to do a lot more sessions like this, and we're going to do some around CV. There are fantastic ways that you can present your experiences in a CV that makes your CV very, very much attractive for the interviewer. Okay, so make sure that your CV is to the T, and it's exactly what you're trying to present, because remember, that is what goes ahead of you and all of that. Now, another thing that makes you an unforgettable candidate is mastery of your STAR. Now, a lot of us, I'm hoping, have heard the acronym STAR, which is a format for answering questions that sums it up in a way that provides an S, which is what the situation was, what the task was, what action you took, and the results that you got. Very important. Situation, the task, the action that you took, and the results. Now, I'm going to focus a lot on the action that you took, because one of the things that I have found is a lot of people always talk about the collective action of the group. Oh, I worked within a team. We did, we did. Now, there is two sides, there's two camps of hiring managers here. Some managers will interpret we as this person is potentially a great team player. Some of the other people say, well, it doesn't look like they took any personal responsibility for the task. So this is a catch-22. Here is what you need to do in focusing on the action side of things. Highlight and amplify the part you single-handedly contributed to the delivery of that task or project or whatever that scenario was, but also include potentially about 20% that the team achieved. So that way you have the genius of the and. But also we did, okay? If it was a task that you did single-handedly all through, I think there's nothing wrong in kind of talking about how you led, but always include that balance to say, I did this, I did that, and this is kind of what we achieved, okay? I want to take a pause there before I go on, and I want to do a quick role play. Who wants to volunteer to do a role play on STAR? Somebody just want to, I would ask a question, and this is the question I'll ask you. Tell me a time where you successfully led a project within a complex project. That's the question. Who wants to have a go at role playing that with me? Pastor Bayo is not allowed because Pastor Bayo is an exceptional project manager. So no, that would be cheating. Who wants to have a go at that? I want somebody to have a go. So Busola has fantastic. Busola, can you? Yes, absolutely. So okay. So Busola, have a go at answering the question. So thank you so much for your application. I was really impressed about your CV and believe that your experience is potentially a great fit for this role and also the organization. Right, I'll just dive in straight into the question. So Busola, could you tell me an experience you had, or tell me a time where you successfully managed a complex project?
Oh, thank you very much for this opportunity. Some time ago, I was told to lead a project on a recruitment campaign for my team. What I did was to help hiring managers to place job advert and to ensure that the right candidates are selected for the role. Part of my duty was to ensure that the job description were in line with the policy of the organization, ensuring that it gives equal opportunities to all their applicants, ensuring that both minority and international candidates are well captured, ensuring that there's accuracy in terms of what is written in the job adverts, and ensuring that the right candidates are shortlisted. So I was able to train line managers on how to effectively do this, working with them. And part of what I also did was to ensure that feedbacks were given to the candidate as at the right time and not wasting time with feedback. And we're able to, at the end of the day, we're able to hire the right candidate. The interview process went on well, and I got feedback from the hiring managers that they felt engaged, they felt informed, and they were able to get the right candidate at the end of the day. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Busola. Great. Anyone else wants to have a go? Okay, Pastor Bayo, go ahead. Pastor Bayo, you're muted. Okay.
Yeah, no. Yeah. There was this project that we were doing in Italy. That was the first time I was going to be in Italy. The challenge was the business had never been in Italy before. We were meant to employ this contractor to do a particular work for us, a £1 million project. The challenge we had was language barrier. What do we do? New market for us. What do we do? So what I did was I traveled to Italy, looked for local consulting firm, interviewed quite a number of them, and chose the one that could probably represent our firm better than anybody else. They could speak English, so they were the gap between us and the contractor. Now I gave them specification of who we're looking for and went into market engagement with them. I reviewed the specification, I reviewed the qualification, and I asked serious questions. So what we did was, when we went to the interview, I guided the team, the consultant that was representing us in interviewing, and I checked with them to make sure that they were really asking the question we wanted. When they were giving us questions that I didn't understand or answers I didn't understand, I checked with them. So I led the engagement with this market. We successfully did what we wanted to do. Project success there. We didn't have any problem, and we had good experience in the market. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Bayo. So I'm so glad we had to, and I wanted to do two so that we can contrast and see. Amazing job from Pastor Bayo, and also amazing job from Busola. One of the things that I liked about Pastor Bayo's was the figures. So £1 million, pound project, all of those sorts of things, understanding and he used the word, but the challenge was, this was that organizations are always facing challenge. So they like it when you say challenge and all of that. So he talked about that. One of the things I liked about Busola was kind of a lot of support in just ensuring that. But one of the things Busola didn't quite hit so well was, at the end of the day, we just recruited the people that we wanted. It would have been good to say, how many people did we set out to recruit? We ran a recruitment campaign, fantastic, to recruit how many numbers of people, and all of the things. And were there any other challenges? But really fantastic experiences from both. But it just goes to show that within one same question, people would have different ways of presenting it. And that leads me to another rule. Your confidence level is potentially it represents about 50, if not 70%, I dare say, of your potential at getting the role. Your confidence level. And it's not your ability to be able to communicate with confidence is so, so important. It's so important. I always say to people, I'm not afraid, neither should we be afraid to walk into any room and talk about our experiences. Now, there's two things that you're trying to sell when you're doing an interview. On the one hand, you're trying to sell your confidence because an organization must trust you, that this person knows, you must be believable, right? That is what confidence does. But the other side is competence. Those two combinations are so, so, so powerful. You may have a lot of competence, but if you don't have the confidence to be able to sell and translate that confidence into, this is the value that I bring to your organization, you will struggle. I have seen, and I'm sure a lot of people can testify here, I've been on panels where the reason the candidates were selected, and I dare say over 90%, was because they were just very confident. Could they do the job? Yes, but not as much as other people could, showing the pedigree, like, what they had displayed on their CV. However, they just did not have the confidence enough to be able to sell that. The tone of your voice must be, not loud, but articulate with the right tone enough to be able to say, yes, this is the person we have. Your persona, the way that you present yourself in the interview, very, very important. Whatever makes you feel confident, you must do it. And here are a few tips around confidence. One of the things that I've personally found, and I want people to please use the chat box to tell me how you cope with stress. Now, for me personally, when I am feeling pressured at interview, I'm feeling nervous. Two things happen when I'm either very excited or I'm very nervous. I talk very fast. In fact, I'm going to give you a story. Pastor Bayo is nodding because I'm sure he can relate. I'm going to give you a quick one. About, I don't know, maybe 5 roles ago, I did an interview, and this is what the chief operations officer said to me. She says, Joy, I have never met anyone that talked faster than me. So for that, I'm going to give you this job because we have to be competing about people that talk really fast. That was literally how I got that job, because I was literally just running. I should be like, calm down, let me just finish writing my notes. When I'm very excited or very nervous, I talk very, very fast. And some of the things that I used to break the ice is, look, I'm very excited about this role. I'm very nervous. So I may be talking really fast, but please don't feel awkward telling me to slow down. Trust me, I'll put the brakes right on. And I just use that to sort of break the ice. Okay, but what was I saying? Right, so about your confidence, you have to be very, very confident. So preparation helps you to calm down the nerves or the excitement, okay, that tends to hamper or to distort or to impact on your confidence level. Even when you're not sure about it, say it confidently. For example, sometimes people are maybe feeling a little bit confused. People are struggling with IT issues, especially these days where people attend a lot of interviews virtually. Different things can be impacting on that, but you could just confident. I've heard somebody in an interview say, I'm so sorry. My internet may be going down. But if it does happen, I have got an alternative. I've got my phone and I've got all the numbers here and I'll call straight back. Very confident, and I loved that. Some people would say, I've seen people say, that question is very, very interesting. I need a little bit more time to answer that. Could we skip to the next one? And I'll take that back on later on. There are different ways to manage and calm your nerves when you're at an interview. The most important thing is that all through, you're doing it very, very confidently. Because when you're an interview, you are selling trust and credibility. You're telling this person that I'm the right person for this role. You can trust me. If you bring me to your team, I'm not going to let you down. All of that hinges on just how comfortable they feel with the level of confidence that you are bringing to this proverbial, table. So make sure that you're confident. There's a lot of things that you can learn. If you're somebody that talks kind of low pace, you may need to pitch your voice. This evening, I had gone to dress up. I had put makeup on. It makes me feel very, very comfortable. I have my chair elevated. I have my table. I have my lighting. All of those things enable you to feel very, very confident. Whatever you need to do to feel confident, remember, you need your confidence level should not match your competence level, but should be over your competence level, okay? So I'll read something that I saw, which I quite liked, that sort of differentiated, but it says confidence and competence are often related, but they are not the same thing. Whilst confidence refers to a person's belief in their own abilities, competence refers to a person's actual abilities. So your mindset, and that brings me to the next point, you need to master the mindset. Your mindset, it will be displayed, your mindset around, do I even think I'm the right person for this role, is very, very critical. And it's something that confidence can be learned over time. It takes a lot of practice, and that's why you mustn't stop applying for roles. You have to keep applying for roles. The more roles you get, the more confident you become at just communicating the ask that you bring to the table, okay? The more, the more confidence you bring, the more you're likely to be that unforgettable person, okay? So the next step is you need to master the mindset, and it's the positivity mindset, the can-do mindset, the mindset that says, I'm the right person and it doesn't matter. Your mindset must be top-notch. Perception, the way that you perceive yourself is the way that other people are going to perceive you. Remember the girl I shared that walked into the room and said, hey, I'm a very shy person. That's how she perceived herself. So she's already said, I'm not even a confident person. So we might as well just cut this conversation right now. So you have to, your mindset, when you are applying for a role, do you feel that you're the right person for this job? Do you think that you're the person that is going to be offered the role? Or are you applying and hoping and praying that the angels are going to somehow come and help you, and all of those sorts of things? What do you generally think when you're applying for a role? That part, a lot of times, is not shared. But I've seen people who feel uber confident about a role that they only meet about 30% of the required competence, and they get it because they come with this mindset of, I can do it because I have done X, Y, Z, I have a track record, and so I can deliver on this. So your mindset is so important. If you get into a role, if you get into an interview with a 50-50 mindset, I might not get it, you are unlikely to get the role. If you got into a role thinking 100% I'm going to get it, guess what? Even if you don't get it, you don't feel down. You just feel it's just another opportunity that I've been able to network. I would connect to the person online. I will do this, and peradventure, if I have another opportunity, I may reapply again. And at best case scenario, you get the job. And that's also amazing. So your mindset is very, 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 very important. Make sure, you're kind of in the right frame of mind. Never apply for jobs that you are not confident about. And that's very, very important. You could, and remember, I didn't say that you're not competent to do. Confidence over competency, because competence can be learned over time, but confidence is a tough one to develop. In fact, there are managers that will tell you, if this person is not confident, there's no point. They don't believe it can be taught. You know, the whole argument around are managers made or born and all of those sorts of things. That is kind of where confidence falls into. Some people believe it's you have to be born. If you don't know it, then done. You do not apply for a role you do not feel confident about. Yeah, competence, we can deal with that. 20%, 40%, people have different rules. So do I tick all of the boxes? Do I tick 5? There is a whole study and research around how men will typically apply for a role where they just tick 3 of the boxes, whereas women will want to make sure they tick 9 out of 10. But make sure that your confidence is, I can do this job. You look at it and I'm feeling very confident about it. And if you don't get it, that's fine. And lastly, before we go to question and answer, and this part is really, really, really important. At the end of your interview process, and I'm going to share a story. At the end of your interview process, you have to come out knowing that I couldn't have done anything else to get this job. At the end of your interview process, you should be able to say, I couldn't have done anything more. That's very important. And let me share this story as we then take Q&A. I had applied for a role via an agency. So you know how the agency kind of get your CV and all of that. And I had gone, there were different, I think this was the final stage. I was meeting with the CEO and someone else. And the interview, the agent called me when I had finished the interview and said, oh, Joy, tell me, how did it go? I said, yeah, it went well. He says, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 meaning I'm definitely getting this job and 1 meaning I'm not sure. How confident are you that you're going to get this job? I said 9. He says, you're definitely getting it. That question is so important because he wanted to check, are you confident that there is nothing else that you could have done? And he said that to me and I learned it. He says, it means that you did everything, that you don't need a rematch. Unfortunately for interviews, you don't get an opportunity for a rematch. It's one go and that's it. If you come out thinking, oh, shoot, I should have said A, I should have said Z, top, that's on you. You might be lucky in some instances that you're still given the role, but most times you're not. So at the end of every interview, you need to be able to say, I did everything. And even if you don't get the job, you know that you couldn't have done anything more. At that stage, at that level, you did everything that was required to nail that job. And that again speaks to the level of confidence that you display during asking, during the interview process. And I have to add something else regarding questions. So this is some of the things that I have found people do. And I did say, at the beginning, I did ask the question, why do we have interviews? And a lot of people said a lot of things. Now, let me tell you, because people do ask these questions a lot, Joy, what sort of questions should I be asking an organization? You don't ask an organization about culture, because culture is something that is felt and perceived over time, and no artifact or words that people tell you can truly interpret or narrate the true picture of the culture of the organization. So that's a wasted time when you're asking people questions. Tell me about your culture. Of course. What do you want me to tell you? I will tell you all the fancy things about the culture. But we all know that because organizations are inherently a living organism, because they are made up of people, the culture will always be a mixed bag. Remember that your interview process is an opportunity for you to nail it and become that unforgettable candidate. Make sure you're not asking irrelevant questions. You don't ask questions about culture and all of that. Here are 2 important questions. And please, I want you to use the chat to ask for more, or to tell me some of the other ones you ask. Here is things. So remember that an organization is looking for people to solve their problems, whether they are replacing a role, creating a role for a new time. There is a challenge, we need to fix it. It's a people problem, we need a person to fix it. Here is 2 winning questions that I found to be very, very impactful. And I would also share with you how you should answer them. Number 1, if I were to accept an offer with you, if I were to accept this offer, right? What areas, I would always put a number to it. What 3 areas would you want me to focus on within the next 30, 60, or 90 days? Now, I don't know if you missed it, but remember the way that I'm asking this question. If or when I am offered this role, that speaks about a certain level of audacity to say, have we even offered you the role? Why are you asking, So it's a mind thing as well to say, oh, she's feeling so confident or he's feeling really confident. So if I were to offer this role, so assuming you're offering me this role today, what are your 3 top challenges that you would want me to fix within perhaps the next 30, 90, or 60 days? Very, very critical. When you ask that question, please have your answer. It doesn't matter what problem they tell you. You must craft a solution because you're smart enough to craft a solution. And if it is an area within your professional field, there shouldn't be any question that should be alien to you. If you haven't solved that question or if you haven't solved that challenge before, come up with one that you have solved that is very similar and use the opportunity to remember the STAR model to tell them how you solved it and the result that you got in the time that you got the result. Very critical. Every time you go to an interview and you speak to the problem of the people that you're talking to, you are unlikely to be forgotten. You're unlikely to be forgotten because they'll say, this person understands the problem. This person understands the problem. Okay, so that's one. That's what you do. The second really good question I've found that people ask, and I also ask is, what is your biggest challenge as an organization? It doesn't matter what the challenge is. It could be a global challenge, whatever. Find a way to fit yourself into the solution or a solution to that problem. They may tell you, oh, we're dealing with climate, sustainability, whatever it is. As a HR professional, I would say that's really, really interesting. I've worked in an organization where I've set up ERGs, so employee resource groups, and I know that sustainability is one of the ones that they usually come up with. I think it's something that as a business, through my role as a director of people or whatever it is, I can harness the power of people to come up with strategies that enable the business to deliver that. And I'm just trying to sell you literally on my feet what I will sell if they come up with a problem that doesn't sound like a HR problem because I'm a HR person. You should be able to have mastered your craft so much that regardless of the question that you are asked, you have a solution either as an individual or you can harness the power of other people's systems, processes, or anything to resolve that challenge or that problem, okay? Make sure that when you're entering that room, and I mean a virtual room, a physical room, whatever it is for interview, you are asking the question that make them come out thinking, I want that person. I want that person. They're too good. They can relate to the problem. Relatability, very, very important. Your confidence, your mindset, all of that is very, very important. Ultimately, for you to be unforgettable, but being an unforgettable candidate, remember I shared some of my experiences with you. They make them put you at the top, if not for offer at that time, definitely for offer within the next, once an opportunity comes through. I've also seen people who have been offered a different role just because they were so good and they couldn't let the candidate go. So they may have not been fit for the role they applied for, but they said, you know what, you're so good, we have another role, and they were offered. Okay, so that is all that I have. Pastor Bayo, over to you.
No. Thank you so much, Lady Joy. You have more, and I've been getting feedback from everybody. Let me first answer the question that everybody has been throwing at me. Is this session recorded? Yes and no. What I mean by yes is that it's on our YouTube page, Global Harvest UK. So if you go there, you'll see it there. It's always there on the Global Harvest UK. Somebody says she nailed it. Everybody has been telling me. But Lady Joy, thank you so much. Honestly, if I can speak the way you speak, I'll be a better pastor. That's number one. What you did in 50 minutes, I'll need 3 hours to even try to articulate. But I wanted to, before, let me give the rule of engagement. Please, if you want to ask a question, please raise up your hand using the Zoom function. Then I'll call you. You can ask a question also by typing it into the chat box. We'll read it out and Lady Joy will answer. Yeah, I see hands raised already, and I'll try to call everybody. But I have 2 questions that I wanted to ask you, Lady Joy. One of the challenges I see when I talk to people from where I come from is the art of interviews. I notice that people get nervous. They make it so when they are answering, it seems as if it's an exam. They don't know how to make interview conversational. You are the professional. You interview people. Just tell us, in your opinion, how do we prepare for interview? Is it that we make it conversational, or we approach it as an exam where we're trying to answer? You know, when they in an exam when they ask you the question, you're like trying to say, "Oh, answer number one, point eight, point." Please, can you talk us through that? That's
Yeah.
why I have another question, but that's the first one I want you to talk us through, please.
Yeah. And that I have found that a lot. So this is my rule number one of, and you're right, it's not an exam, it's conversational. You're trying to, understand the organization as much as you're trying to understand you for a mutually beneficial relationship, assuming an offer is made. Okay, so that's what you're trying to do. This is one of the things I've found, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to it. And this is why I said, the purpose of an interview, getting a job is the last. If you think about it that way, meaning you are not desperate, you tend to do a better job than when you are desperate. If you go to a negotiation table desperate or hungry, I don't know about a lot of people. I grew up in Nigeria for the first at least 25 years of my life. Whenever we're going to a neighbor's house or we're going to one of the auntie's house, my mom will feed you. I used to wonder, why are you feeding? We're supposed to go there to eat. So why am I being fed? I should go hungry. But the reason was so that you will not be desperate and accept anything. It was for you to be full enough so that when you get there, even if you're not given, you don't feel bad. That's very, very important. And a lot of times we don't think about that. If you are desperate for a role, if you think that is the be all and end all, you're going to go there thinking it's an exam, you would freeze, you would be nervous, and all of those sorts of things. That also speaks to an abundant mindset. There is always a role for you. If it's not this one, other ones will come up. So there is no need to be desperate. I think that for me, that's one of the things I've found. Most people that go thinking, oh, I'm just chilling, I'm not desperate. Yeah, are you looking for jobs? Yes, I'm looking for jobs, but I'm also looking as much as, the organization is looking, if you're lucky enough that you have a role and all of that. But the most important thing is never go to that table desperate, because you're going to sell out, you're going to sell below the standard, and sometimes you may not even be able to articulate what you have as well. So that's really important. Other things I think are things that we already know, prepare a lot, ask the right questions, smile, do whatever it is, both mentally, physically, and otherwise, and even spiritually, that makes you feel very, very confident about nailing a role, but never go there desperate. If you're desperate, you're likely to do all of the things that you're not supposed to do. Oh, I don't have the experience. So thank you very much for every question. You may not even be able to answer, the question using star, all of those sorts of things, you just struggle. But if you go there thinking, I'm just having a conversation with another person that is trying and have something valuable to sell, and if it doesn't work out, then that's absolutely fine. But remember, at the end of the day, like I said, I want to make it hard for the hiring manager to make a decision, because I'll be bringing my A++ game. And that's what we should be doing.
No, thank you so much. Thank you. Bossman, I see your hand, but give me some few seconds. Please don't forget what she said. Conversational is important. Whatever we have to do to make it conversational. The person interviewing you is not superior to you. That's why they called you to the interview. They want to employ you.
Yeah.
So one of the things I discover is we are so pent up, so nervous that we don't actually converse. We are trying to answer ABC. It's conversation. Number two, the last one for me, and I will let other people ask question now, is you said something about the star answer, which is good. But how important is storytelling in interviews? Because I think that's what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
But how important is that instead of trying to answer without stories? What's the difference? What does that mean? Yeah.
So depending on who you're talking to, the star model is really a story, right? It has a beginning and end and all of those sorts of things in between. The difference is obviously you're not going to do all the whole cliffhangers and all of that. You're literally going to try and land this plane, So the star model is about story. It's a great way to articulate your story. And if you notice, when I was talking as well, I was sharing stories. I do that as well in interviews, to say, depending on who I'm speaking to, if I'm speaking to really senior people in our organization, I've mastered the art of what I know they want to hear. As a HR professional, a leader wants to feel comfortable with me and say, can I trust? Is she a trusted advisor, right? So you need to master telling your own story. But the star model is really the storytelling of interviewing, what the scenario was or the context, depending on the model you're using. What exactly were you trying to fix, the task? What action, what did you do? And what result did you get? Now, you can say that in a robotic way, and it will sound really awkward, or you can say that in the most calm, effective way that people are bent and hooked on that. Some of the things that I didn't do in our role play was to then use the opportunity to ask further questions, and that plays into your story. For example, I could have asked Pastor Bayo to say, oh, tell me, really, really interesting. How did you, talked about $1 million, so how much did you make in the end? And did you spend all of that money from a cost, because with project management, cost, time, quality, all of those sorts of things are quite important. You use that, but you need to leave enough within that story to make them hooked, on you. So yes, I think Pastor, you're absolutely right. It's a story that we're trying to tell. I'm trying to tell them a story about myself and all that. And some practical things that I would say is, it's even sometimes our diction, the way that we speak is very, very important. I realize, and I still say this, and I'm saying that, I still do it sometimes. Sometimes I get into a meeting and I'm like, number 3. And I'm like, Joy, it's not 3, it's 3. What the hell? And Nigeria is happening to me again. What's this? But it's little things like that you have to develop over time. I know some people who go to elocution courses. I don't personally believe in that. I think over time, as you're exposed to people, it's important that you are able to improve on your articulation just from a pure diction point of view so that they will understand what you're trying to say. It's honestly not a big thing, but it also enables you to feel confident when you're interviewing people. I don't believe people have to change their accent. I think, we work with Chinese, work with Indian, they have the heaviest accent and they are the most confident people in the room. They bring their confidence and their competence top notch and they're able to deliver absolutely amazingly. So I think all of those sorts of things are very important. Tell it like a story. Just say, oh, I remember a time, relax. I had that experience. I delivered this and delivered that. It's a story, but the star helps you to give them no room to question and say, and to make it unbelievable. At the end of the day, your story has to be believable. I think that's the difference between telling a story within interview, but also telling a story, just for like a fiction. This is not a fiction, this is real. So the star helps you to say, this is actually what I delivered, this is how it started, this is what I did, and this is what I delivered. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Lady Joy. I have more questions, but Bossman, go ahead.
All right, thank you very much, Lady Joy. Thank you, Pastor Bayo. One of the first question that I want to ask is this. I noticed, when Pastor Bayo was answering the star question, I observed that he was able to avoid something I personally feel I do a lot, the not because I'm nervous, not because I don't know what to say, but I just noticed that from when I do my practice and all that, I noticed I do a lot of I want to first of all ask, how do I avoid that? That's the first question. Secondly, also, when do I draw a line between being overconfident and being confident? I mean, where do I draw the line between being cocky and being confident? Really, that's the second question. Thirdly, if I'm asked a question, because I observed something going back to the start question when Pastor Bayo was talking, and when Busola, it's very easy to relate with an experience you have. So, how do I relate with an experience I don't have? And the question has been asked. Thank you.
Really fantastic question. And I love how Andrea has put it on. She says fillers. We do that a lot. And actually there was a time I used to think it was cool because people that used to and I'm like, oh yes, they sound intelligent. No, it's not. I think some of the reasons that I've found is that, first of all, I think there's two camps. There are people that just think it's cool to say, so, but I think my experience is that if you have experience and if you know what you're talking about, you're less likely to use fillers, because at the end of the day, what you're trying to get a message. Think about a time where you're so confident about what you're talking about. You rarely use fillers. And that's why I liked what Andrea did there. You're just using it to fill a void. That's why you do the and the R, and that's camp 1. Camp 2 is just people that think it's cool. to use that. The truth is, there's nothing cool about using fillers. If you have the experience, share the experience in your most articulate way, and all of that. And, you could use, I don't see any way, to be honest, where that has kind of helped. If anything, it kind of dampens your, especially people that use it all the time. You hear some people literally for every single word, there is a filler. It doesn't leave a good experience or perception of the person. So I would say that's a no. Master the art of just saying what you want to say. There's something that I used to do. I used to dream that I would build a really big organization, and I still believe that I would do that. And I would record myself being interviewed by people. And I will sit and I'll say, hey, I'm the CEO of HR Design School. We've just raised $3 million in blah, blah, blah. I still have them, and I would do that all the time because I wanted to practice, just being able to communicate and all of that. So I would say, again, develop and just ask yourself questions. You can record it and then, use that as an opportunity to check yourself. Yes, Pastor, you have your hand raised. I bet it's on the same question.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. I wanted to say the story of, I think my wife was one that taught me this. To avoid the ends, she started writing the stories before the interviews.
Okay.
Which helped that confidence.
Yeah.
So she just imagined, like Lady Joy said, some interviews are just for networking. Some are just to build confidence, she said. As you're going through the interviews, like, what question did they ask me there? And you write the stories. I think she used to have like 3-4 stories.
Yeah.
And because you know the story, you know exactly what you want to say. You are relaxed. You're just telling them the story. The other thing I think we also struggle with from where we come from is we think the faster you speak, the more confident you look. Pace yourself.
Yeah.
Just calm down and avoid the M's. Know that you are going to speak anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They want to hear you.
Yeah.
So you know the story, and then you speak it. You say it. Lady Joy said something that I have never done before, but I just saw how powerful it is. You don't have to ask the question the moment you are being asked. You can come back to it later. It's how you answer that is important.
Yeah.
I think one of our struggle is when we ask a question, we think if you don't answer, like Lady Joy asked me a question, if I don't pause before I start answering, I think I've lost it. So we want to it's like you do something bad. You quickly ask a question, you're like, let me quickly answer so that you don't think I'm pausing. I think I like what she said when she said you are trying to sell trust.
Yeah.
So your answer must be measured, delivered properly and perfectly. And how you do that is by not rushing it.
Yeah.
Bring your story. I just thought I should add that to what you were saying. That helped my wife when she was saying to me, she write all the stories.
Yeah.
And she's able to combine stories to deliver an answer. Yeah, that's what I want to say. Yeah.
That's such a fantastic point. Have a bank of stories, and experiences. And I think that links to your other question around, what if you don't have the experience? Have a bank of experiences or stories with your star that you have nailed. This is how I answer this on strategy. This is how all of the potential areas within your professional, your career or the role that you're applying for. Have those stories. And I dare say, 90% of the time, if we have not done the role, we have a similar experience. I'm going to give you one. I sit on the hiring panel for the organization I work with for global recruitment, so for graduate recruitment rather, and there is hundreds of thousands of applications yearly because it's such a prestigious, science, kind of the STEM thing. So we have people, the cut is very, very high. It's like your GPA must be 4.9, it's one of those, high levels of, because people build careers, people have become CEOs. There's a fantastic story around it. So it's very, very competitive. So I sit on that. One of the things that I found is that we don't ask them student questions. We ask them leadership because it's a graduate leadership role. So we don't say, we just ask a question. Imagine somebody who is just finishing a first-class chemistry degree in a university, say in the US. So tell me a time when you've led a team. 90% of the time, all of the students give exactly the same kind of story. When I was doing in my first year, in my second year, I worked on this project. But the way that they sell it is so amazing. So they are linking leading that group work with a bunch of students from all over the world, and how they were able to coordinate themselves, and how they were able to deal with conflicts in delivering that project, how they were able to set standard, how they were able to get the best out of their fellow students, their peers, and they link that to the world. If a student can do that, I dare say that we can do that as well, because that's all they have. I remember as well coaching somebody, I think it was my daughter, I can't remember now. They were talking, no, it wasn't my daughter, because I think this person had more siblings, and they were going for an interview, it was for like an IT, and they were asking, oh, what if they ask me about leadership? And I said, okay, give me an example what you've done. And she said, oh, sometimes my brother, he wakes up late, he's not preparing to go to school. I said, that is it. So what did you do? You put solutions in place. You put the alarm closer to his bed. When it rings twice, he doesn't pick up. She got that role. So there is always an experience, but again, it goes back to not being nervous or feeling confident. Regardless of what you've done, always develop the ability to say, what are they trying to get from this question? Every employer that is asking you a question, there is a skill they are trying to get. If they say, tell me a time where you've led a project, what they're really asking you is, can you lead? Can you face challenges? Can you manage multiple, all of those sorts of things. So it really doesn't matter whether it's a project at work or a project at home, you can bring anything. If it's leadership, it doesn't matter whether you're leading your siblings, or whether you're leading a large organization, or whether you are leading a volunteering group, or whether you are leading a project in school. It's all leadership. If you can confidently articulate that to say, oh, I have led, I remember I come from a family of 5, and as the first child, I was laced with the responsibility of leading my 4 siblings through life and school back in Africa. My parents weren't want to drop us off at school, so I had to take the responsibility for doing that. So what I would normally do is make sure that we all went to bed very early. By the next morning, by 5 o'clock, everyone was ready, and I split the responsibility according to their level of experience to my younger ones. So my immediate younger one would be in charge of breakfast, the other one would be that experience that just looked like it was so irrelevant suddenly becomes this amazing story that you're presenting at work. That's how you do it. So again, it goes back to, do you even believe in your ability to do this job? That is so important, so that regardless of the question they're asking you, you have a story to back it up, even if it's not exactly related. Okay, so that's really important. The other one you talked about was overconfidence. I think it's important to know what does overconfidence mean, or cocky mean. I think if you are, I'm not sure I exactly understand what overconfidence mean, or sounding cocky and all of that. Again, remember, you're trying to build trust and credibility. You're trying to sell trust and credibility. If you're doing that really, really well, I'm not sure how overconfidence sort of plays out and all of that. So I think stick to the facts, stick to the figures, stick to your contribution into delivering that, and you're unlikely to come across as overconfident or cocky. I think you'll be able to do that. And most times, if you meet a really intelligent hiring panel, they would ask you a lot of questions, and your ability to be able to answer back, provide clarification and all of that. And that's why, as Pastor has said with his wife and how she manages it, get your stories, top notch. Go through your CV again and read those where you put those percentages, delivered 90% X, 20% this, 5% that, 10,000, 1 million. Get all of that together. You're unlikely to sound cocky on the numbers because they are relatable and they are real, except of course, if you're lying, which would be a completely different thing, and then it sounds unbelievable. So
Thank you very much. Final question, sorry. The diversity form that we fill, does it impact our application at all? I've been wanting to ask that, really.
Yeah, so that's a really, really interesting one. And I know that a lot of people have that. From my experience in HR, it doesn't affect at all. Now, I'm not saying some people don't have experience, because some people really have valid experience around microaggressions and just being, deselected based on the way that their names sound. I would say this, there are 1,000,001 organizations all over the world that would recruit people regardless of their race. So I would not bother about the very tiny, minute percentage of people that potentially discriminate, because, we don't know, we don't have any evidence that they do that. That form, from an HR point of view, part the GDPR, so the Data Protection Act, that information is never shared with the hiring manager. That is only used for monitoring process, purposes, and they would only use it for what it is meant for. It is not for selection process. It is purely for just to kind of manage and track equality and all of those sorts of things. At the end of the interview process, if the person or persons are not selected, that information is wiped out from the system, because by law, no organization should be retaining that information beyond the time they are supposed to retain it and for the purpose they are supposed to be. So I wouldn't bother too much about that, okay? And I think it's something that is important for us to address, because I know you've asked this question from just a form filling point of view. But a lot of people feel, oh, there's kind of racism on all of those sorts of things. We don't have the evidence, sometimes to do that. Sometimes it's from people's experiences. Sometimes it's just from people's perceived experiences. All of those things are things that eat at your confidence when you are applying for roles. Your focus is to make sure you are competent and you have the confidence and believe in your ability to do the job. And if you can merge those two with great communication of how your confidence or your competence delivers value for the business, I believe very strongly that race would become a secondary issue, because you will be so good and nobody will be able to deny you. So I think that is what we focus on. My experience is that when people focus a lot on the racism side of things, they get very, very discouraged, because then everything you begin to see, what you focus on, it gets bigger. If you focus on there's racism, every single time you get a rejection, every single time you don't get an offer, you think it's because of race. The truth is most times it's not. It's just pure, any other reason. So that's what I would say on that one.
Please, if you have questions, please raise up your hand so I can note you and call you. But Lady Joy, you one of the things you said is to start with the CV.
Yeah.
Can you just for our benefits? You said that CV. I know this is not CV clinic today, right? But how do you said in a role, 200 people apply for a role. How do you select that 10, 15 that you interview?
Yeah.
What do you look for on the CV? That one, yeah, help us with that one, because my CV is not being picked every time.
Yeah.
I've applied to 80 that you said is a band.
Yeah.
Help us.
Yeah. So I think there's different strategies that you can use. And I'm going to share this from insider information. First of all, organizations are overwhelmed with a lot of applications, so they use AI. So most of the job boards and all of that use AI to filter through, and so they look for keywords. So one of the things, for example, if you look at LinkedIn, when LinkedIn is suggesting jobs for you, to tell you have 9 out of 10 or 6 out of 10, you're a star candidate, all that is doing is that it's using AI to use some keywords from your profile. So one of the hacks is that get the right buzzwords into your profile or your CV enough such that if it is, or once it's picked by AI, that gets done. So these days with a lot of applications, AI does the step 1 of the long listing. Did they even get 10 out of the, 9 out of 10 and blah, blah, blah keywords? Some organizations go a step further by getting you to answer questions or to do videos. At that point, again, they weed out people, because some people can't be bothered to do extra. They just want to drop their CV and move on. So the ones that do that are likely to get it. So that's one, a lot of AI. So get the buzzwords in. And that's why you have to keep tweaking your CV to fit the role. If there is a role you're applying for and you feel that there are some words that are not there, make sure you include them in a very, very nice way, not, elongating your CV necessarily, but craftily, and carefully kind of weaving those key words in there, because technology is going to do a lot of deceiving. So that's step 1. Step 2, early applications and late applications are very, very critical. When I apply for roles, sometimes I find that because I've just put the job up, I'm very excited and I want to quickly see candidates, I'm likely to choose the first few applicants. And if I feel that I've got the right people, the rest are just wasting their time. That's the truth. And I'm talking from pure insider point of view. Nobody's looking at 450 applications, I can guarantee you. They pick the top. And so they do it early, or they pick the last few. And just, okay, let's just see the people that have just applied recently. Let's see, what do we have? They do that top and bottom slicing and everything in between. Because, these days, most times, if 400 people are applying for a role, 400 people have the chance, they believe they have the chance at getting the job. So depending on how you do your filtering or your selection, you just pick the top 4 and all of that. Yeah. Other things that they do is that they put key selection criteria, and you have to tick the box. Do you have the right to work? Yes. Do you have a degree in X? Yes. If you don't have it, that's another way they just use to slice and all of that. So people, I remember those days, people would say it's good to apply in the night, apply in the morning, and all of those sorts of things. Yeah, so these are kind of just the standard ones. Another one that I realized works really, really well. In fact, somebody told me that recently. She didn't apply to a job, she was headhunted for a role. And so she was saying to me, oh, I just got the agency to do the work for me. And I thought, interesting. And so hiring agencies are there to serve you. That's another insider information. They're there to serve you. They're not, you are doing them a favor by being the absolute candidate because you're going to make some commission off your offer. So you might as well use them. So what she'd done was, yep, I am looking for this kind of job. She sat with them. Here is my CV. Go and do the work for me. Once you find an employer that is fit for me, let me know. That way you're guaranteed at least getting or talking to somebody rather than your CV just going in a black hole and never getting looked at. So maximize agencies, and again, it goes back to confidence because they have to feel confident enough to present you to their client. So you need to make sure that, they feel, yeah, this person can represent, because they want people that can represent, because the organizations don't want to do the hard job. So they are paying someone else to do the job. So you have to make sure that you are the candidate that they want to present to their client. Yeah.
Oh, that was so good. That is so good, Lady Joy. Did you wanted to say something about AI? Do you quickly want to say something?
Hi everyone, good evening. I've been learning and learning since. Lady Joy, thank you so much. And everyone that's contributed, thank you so much. All right, so I just want to give some tips on how to, Pastor Bayo will call me. He says I'm the AI person, but let me just give you some AI hack that is being used nowadays. And I like the fact that Lady Joy has spoken about how AI are used to search for keywords and then determine who should be selected for the interview. Okay, so I'm going to start by explaining how most of these roles are being posted. When they post these roles, I would like to advise that you use, rather than use the traditional LinkedIn and all the other top job portals, I always advise you go to the aggregator, the guy who aggregates every recruitment company in the entire country, right? Don't bother yourself sticking with only one person. Just go to Google. Google is your friend. And the funny thing about Google is it can help you streamline the search to the place where you are. So let me give a typical example, okay? I live in Kent and precisely probably live in Maidstone, okay? So I then go to Google and I click on my search. I'm looking for probably a project manager role. I'm going to write project manager jobs in Maidstone, Kent. Now, bearing in mind that a lot of organizations are trying to stop the remote work and they're looking for hybrid or people who will be working on site. So that means that you want your geography to be at your advantage because they will choose anybody who is closer to that geography. Once you put that on Google and you hit on search, most of the time you always want to see, maybe you see the total jobs and all the other ones at the top. Leave them. Don't bother. Just leave them. Scroll down. Now there's something called Google Jobs. By the time you click on, you look for project managers in Maidstone. When you click on the Google Jobs there, it's going to show you all the listing of over like 5,000 jobs that are listed in your location. Now Google helps you to break it down into the closest locations. You can actually reduce it to 15 miles to your location. By reducing it, what it does, it helps you streamline to those jobs that are close to you. Now, this is the AI hack that you can then use. Pick out the JDs in those places. I did this with one of our people in church recently. Pick out the JD there and go to your friend, the artificial intelligence.
Sorry.
Now,
JD is job description.
Job description. My apologies, everyone. Job description. Take it out and go to your best friend, your second best friend after Google, which is the artificial intelligence tool, right? Now, what you are asking is to, then you pick your resume, all the details from your resume. Take it there also. Now, because you're a project manager by default and you've had all these skills on your resume, now you're going into the AI and telling him, this is the job description for this role, and this is my CV. Find a way to sneak in most of these keywords into my CV right now, because you already have those skills. So what AI will do is to help you sneak all those little keywords into your resume. You remember, you're not changing your resume. It's the same resume, but it's helping you put those keywords into those roles that you're applying for. Now, what that helps is, for someone like Lady Joy, who is using artificial intelligence, now I've got her. I'm going to be top on the list of those that will be selected. But please remember, being selected to come for the interview is a different thing. And going into the interview and smashing it is a different thing entirely.
Yeah.
Right? So the second level of using the AI to prepare you for interview. I know nobody talks about this, but I'm going to talk about it because we are in our closed room right now. Let's talk about it. Using AI prompt engineering actually is the best way to prepare you for interviews, right? When you're going in for the interview, you need to get the AI to think like the interviewer. So to think like somebody like Lady Joy or Pastor Bayo, who is the senior project manager, who is going to come with all the textbook questions to bamboozle you or to harass you. What you just need to do is then create a persona for the AI to think like all the interviewers. So before you go into the interview, go to LinkedIn, look for the profile of the people who will be in that room to interview you, and then go into the AI and then write that you are now that person. You get the profile of those people, put the information in there in AI, and ask that with this kind of experience that these people have, and they're looking for a job with the JD that you've seen already, you put it in there. What are the probable 20 scenario-based, star-based questions they're going to ask you? And it's going to bring out probably over 20 jobs. Now, after the AI has done all of that for you, now you're going to get the AI to help you again. And then you're going to say, for us, the project manager who just asked all these questions, what will be the best response, star response or scenario-based response you will give with examples that will make you the top candidate, that will be the most preferred in this? And put it all in for the AI. The AI is just going to write the questions and scenario-based with stories. Now, those stories are supposed to be a guide for you. So basically what that do for you is for you to harness some of the stories like what Pastor Vaya had mentioned, get your stories right, add it to each of those things, and then go into the interview, right? Now, I know AI is big right now. Most people are thinking that it's going to make us lazy. No, basically, it's just helping us enhance getting ourselves prepared, going to the interview, and doing exceptionally well at it, right? I've done this with a lot of people, and I know it really helped them. It makes them go into the interview happy that at least they have over 20 scenario questions and all of that ready to attend the interview. Thank you very much. I just wanted to drop my 2 cents.
No, thank you so much, Deji. In case you guys don't know, Deji is our AI specialist in Global Awareness Charge. So I wasn't surprised when he said that. Any other question anybody wants to ask? I know we've drained Lady Joy already, but look, you don't see her every time. To get her to do this, we've got to blackmail her, which is something she's passionate about, but it's a busy time of the year. Any other question? And Lady Joy, I've had a lot of feedback even while we're talking on church group. Thank you so much. Any other question from anybody? Or ask last one and then we go. Any question from anybody? If I don't see it, I'm just going to ask the last question. Um, Lady Joy, you promised us that we would do CV session.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In front of the witnesses here. I'm not saying give us a date. Give us maximum number of weeks that we should do a follow-up to prepare our people for interview.
Yeah.
That's my next question. Then I have one more.
Yeah. So I think we can do it in January. It'll be a good follow-up to do one in January. And I think CV is another good one. So yeah, January.
And the last one is this. And this one you didn't ask me, but I'm going to do it because somebody sent to me while you were talking that they love your mentoring. Peradventure, somebody wants to pay for you to mentor them. Can you consider that kind of paid mentorship? We won't take your time, but we will just, before we prepare for interview, if I want to go for interview, if I need 1 hour of your time and say, look, I'll pay for a little bit of time for you to mentor me. and prepare me, help me to be confident, give me feedback. Is it something you would consider? In other
Yeah.
words, please consider it. I'm not even.
Yeah, no, it's something I would definitely consider. And I was going to say that I know you are talking about CV, but there's a host around how we manage our careers. One of the things I'm really good at, apart from just, how you get the job, is also negotiations. I've had really awesome negotiation because I negotiate like a tiger. I would literally drain the organization that you would beg me to stop. So I have really, really good skills because I've seen a lot happen on the negotiation table, and people have negotiated that their girlfriends even have been offered jobs in organizations. So I think that has given me a lot of confidence. Another thing that we would also be doing next year is how to exit a role. That's so important because a lot of times we focus so much on getting the jobs, but how do you exit the job and make it work for you? That's another thing we're going to be doing. And also another one we'll be doing is how to manage issues and conflict at work, performance improvement issues. I've seen a lot of people accept performance improvement plans without challenging back. And I'm like, you didn't ask your manager what success looks like at the end of this performance improvement period. You've accepted something that you have no hope of coming out on a positive note. All of that, because we want to ensure that people have really, really great experience at work. So not just getting the job, that's step one. There's a whole life cycle that is happening in the role that we need to ensure that you're empowered to do. So that when it's peradventure, if at 6 months they say to you, sorry, I'm not the person we want for this job, what do you do? And there's a lot of scenarios around what you can do to make it work for you. There's a way to exit an organization that is financially, morally, mentally sound and works for you. And there's a way that makes it really draining for you at the end of the day, and all of that. So we're going to be doing that. But yes, in terms of mentoring, I'm more than happy to mentor people. But I must warn you, I can be a very, very hard mentor. One of the feedback I got in a role that I had applied to long time ago, and I was the head of HR and OD, and the CEO said to me, Joy, they gave me feedback from your team, and they say you're a very hard driving manager. I hadn't heard of that word before. And so I went to check, what does hard driving mean? And it just means that I would literally get the best out of you, because for me, it's important that you succeed. And so mentoring is going to be really, really tough because I would make sure that you are the absolute best at what you're doing. So if anyone is prepared, I'm more than happy to do that.
Awesome. Please reach out to me or to Lady Joy. I'll make sure that and the reason why I'm doing that is I don't want her to be overwhelmed free of charge, because I know everybody likes free. This is free. The next one will be free. Everything we do on Global Harvest Church will be free, but she's not charity. Her name is Joy, but I think you should pay for something you value, and she mentor you. Now, Deji, there's a question for you on AI. They also asked for another session on AI. They're asking for that session, so we organize that also on how to all the complex things that you just spoke about in some 5 minutes to arouse all of us. Since you told them that I arouse people, they've asked you to come and teach on that one also. So please, somebody, Lady J has already sent a message to me that they will pay for a session with you. I just got that note while we're talking now. So please reach out to me. I'll link you with her. I have no commission. She didn't send me to do that. I just think it's the right thing to do. If she's adding value, because we literally force her to do this, not because she didn't want to do it, but because she's busy. Now, so thank you, everybody. I want to encourage you. My responsibility as a pastor, and for you that don't know, this is Global Harvest Church, United Kingdom. We try to help people. As you are relocating here, we try to help you to settle down in the UK, wherever you are. I know people join from Birmingham, people join from London, from Nigeria, all over the place. Now, it's okay. You will get a job. It's only a matter of time. It might look challenging now. Everybody that you see in the top place today have their story. If you apply all the things she said, just listen to them over and over again. In fact, listening to everything she taught today has a way of giving you more confidence to just know you are doing the right thing. Remember when she started, I like that statistics. Between 20 to 80 is the number of applications you do before you're offered a role. The fact that you've got rejection does not mean there's no job for you. There is that job for you there. Rehearse, practice, learn how to do better. Each rejection, learn from that, do better next time. And nothing she said. For every interview, tell yourself, know that you can truly judge yourself and say, there's nothing else you could have done. Don't also forget what she said. It is not the fact that you didn't get that interview does not mean not something is wrong with you. At times it's just because they are picking the first lot and the last bit that she said. She gave a lot of lessons that we can learn, and there's still more from her. We'll organize the next session. Olaide, I'm putting them on say the people that organize this, I'm putting them on the spot. If you don't see it organized, blame them. But we'll make sure that we get Lady Joy to do the civil section and we get Deji to do the AI session. But thank you so much for joining. Everybody, thank you.